Hello and welcome to today's wild Hearthstone deck tech and gameplay video on an update to Evolve Shaman. Evolve Shaman uses cards like Evolve and other various effects that allow you to transform a minion into a minion of a higher cost. We have old school effects like actual Evolve, and newer effects like the imbue mechanic from Shaman, which basically turns your hero power into a targeted Evolve that can, in theory, evolve more than one cost at a time. Beyond cards that let us evolve, we have cards that kind of like to be evolved. New cards like the Plucky Podling, as well as older sort of all-stars in this particular deck, like Doppelgangster and Desert Hare. And beyond those two, we have some glue cards that are just going to have to exist, like Emerald Bounty and Ancestral Knowledge for card draw. Devolve is like some interaction. And sort of cards you wouldn't think would work in, or wouldn't make sense in an Evolve list, like First Contact, like Pop-Up Book, or even Voltaic Burst. If you think about it in a more abstract sense, the cards I just mentioned are just one mana versions of a Desert Hare. One card that summons several bodies, all of which share a particular cost, which can be evolved, and then again, we can gain whatever tempo from, in theory, big scary creature that we evolve into. So, if these cards look a little weird, understand that I just sort of view them as one mana versions of a Desert Hare or a Doppelgangster. And before we get on to the actual game, I will take a couple seconds here to describe my issues, air quotes, with Evolve Shaman. From a strictly empirical standpoint, there are just more ways to evolve your creatures than there were before. Again, like we talked about, old cards like Evolved, the new imbue mechanic, and there are also other evolve effects that you can see that I didn't include in this list, but there are just objectively more ways to do it than ever before, which is good. But the weird thing is that due to the increase of just the power level of Hearthstone in our eternal format here, there are a lot more weird kind of dud cards. Hang on, There are like weird dud cards that don't really happen to really work, if that makes any sense, when you evolve into them. I mean, of course, any creature is a creature, but like, we'll take the guild, we'll take a 6 cost thing to prove a point. Oh, that's great. Look at cards like Big Time Racketeer. While yes, we have more ways to evolve, and that increases consistency on one hand, on the other hand, the average quality of the thing you're evolving into has gotten way, way more diluted, and maybe this is just like a personal thing, but I've gotten, a lot more hits of cards like a Big Time Racketeer or whatever that technically are, one more than a Doppelgangster, but you'd never ever want to hit it. And when you hit it, it feels really bad, and it's very hard to recover from particularly like bad hits or a bad board that you evolve into. All of that being said, Evolve Shaman is not more or less consistent. It sort of has maintained its balance, and I think it kind of can't get better unless there's some magical card that gets printed in the future that I'm not thinking of now. So you really have to just kind of enjoy Evolve Shaman and can accept having some fun games and some high lows and some low rolls. I can do that, but if you at home are looking for a really consistent Evolve list, I don't think Evolve as an idea can be much more efficient as time goes on. Still fun though. With all that out of the way, don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future, and if you have any sort of questions or constructive comments, go ahead and leave them down below and I'll respond to what I can. Now, we'll finally go on to game number 1. And game number 1 with our Evolve Shaman. And this is a perfectly fine opening hand. For anybody who's worried, The ladder just reset as of a couple days ago, so I haven't had time to like climb back up. But this deck got me to platinum like most do anymore. Anywho, Podling on 1. Hopefully the Podling lives. It's nice to, you know, get a 1 cost into a 3 cost. But again, there are a lot of weird cards that are floating around that... Ooh, a lot of weird 3 cost cards floating around, so that makes things a little more difficult. Pop-up book, like we talked about, is just a 1 mana, you know, desert hare. So, guess we'll summon the wide board, evolve our board. Hopefully get something. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, we take that. Again, this is... Frostcaller's okay. It's like fine. In the meantime, Totemic Call, make sure to attack with whatever you're going to evolve before you actually evolve, as it will have Summoning Sickness, or whatever you want to call it, whenever you evolve it into something new. What is that? Summon... Oh, okay, it's just a irrelevant pile of stats. Which is honestly, like, you know, we do have a 5 cost 5/4 on turn 3. It's like, okay. Granted, it just died immediately, so we don't love that. But we take those. Plucky Podling's cool. Go face. I mean... I was talking mad shit, but this is like weirdly going to happen to be kind of important. But we take them. I have found that more often than not, it's better to just go face and hopefully you win. And just like run down your opponent with all the tempo you gain from your evolved creatures. So, I'll go face. Go ahead and attack with the Bog Spine Knuckles. Going out of our way to... Okay, that's not bad. Going out of our way to save the muck pools for afterwards in case we need to evolve a particular creature that might have otherwise been a low roll. There was no low rolls for this, but I'm just going to try and... Okay, that's fine, I guess. Just trying to evolve things out of the range of the Vault of Skeleton Death Rattle. As much as, again, you can, like... Jesus. As much as you can, you know, guarantee anything in an evolved list. That's not great. That's hilarious. That's odd. I was going to say if they didn't clear our board, we might have actually had lethal with a Thrall's Gift Bloodlust. In the meantime, go face. And that would have only been an extra... Did I miss lethal anyway? I fucking missed lethal anyway, didn't I? Because Bloodlust is +3, so... Yeah, I'm an idiot. So, let me get ahead of the comments. I realize I goofed and missed lethal. I didn't do the math in my head. I was too busy trying to, like... You know, make a... What's the word? Somewhat informative video. My brain just shut off. Origami Dragon's another great example of one of those weird cards that, like, you'd never ever want to evolve into it because it's clearly... All of its power is in its battle cry. I'm gonna lose this whole fucking board, aren't I? That really fucking stinks. That fucking sucks. Although... I know I said earlier to make sure you attack first before you evolve, but I would not be surprised if there's like an ice block or a flame, I think it's flame trap, the 3 damage one. So I'm gonna attack first. Hopefully what we evolve into lives. Oh, they just die. Okay. Okay. I'm happy we didn't get too terribly punished for the goof of missing lethal. But a victory is a victory, and we'll take what you can get. I suppose now we'll go on to game number 2. And again, number 2 with our little Evolve Shaman. Hair's cool. We don't need both knowledges. With a hair and a coin, might as well just look for an actual Evolve. Okay, that's not great, but fine. I will actually talk about Gorgonzormu. This might seem like a weird pick to put in the list, but if you think about the cheese that it puts in your hand, growing each turn, it's sort of, besides just being, you know, a 4-cost 4/4 that can do damage and can be evolved, it also sort of builds an evolved, like, doppelgangster by itself with its cheese, if that makes any sense. I understand some people might look at this particular card and see it's weird, and we may or may not, with it in our hand, like, get to use it and kind of show what I'm talking about. But if nothing else, just think of the cheese as, like, another, you know, doppelgangster style effect that sort of comes pre-evolved because it's random minions. I guess bounty. There we go. I was about to say, oh, what happened to the card draw there? Makes me feel better that we weren't really going to get much of a use out of any of this anyway. Cool. A druid deck with Renathal tells me actually nothing. I guess since our hand's getting kind of full, we'll go ahead and just play old cheese dragon here. Get that a-rollin'. Let's see. Okay, he leaves my thing intact. So we could always do a pop... Yeah, I guess we'll do that. We'll do a pop-up book on the threat that it kills. Again, largely ignore what our opponent's doing unless we have to. I guess we'll do the old clacker here. And start trying to evolve our way up the chain. That's fine. Dormant ones are also odd. Not only because, you know, whatever, who knows the quality of the individual dormant card, but it also can, it just eats up board space that you can't evolve. Which is not fantastic. Plucky Podling. Let's do a knowledge, see what we find. First contact, Knuckles. That's not bad. I guess we'll just play a hair. Again, go face. Hope that the majority of this board lives till next turn, where we can have a Bog Spine Knuckles and just, you know, bonk their face and hopefully evolve into something big and scary. Ooh, that's gonna kind of stink, though. Ah, yes. The bane of fun stuff. Fucking Reno deck. Blech. Boring. Anywho, go face. Not only are Reno decks, I think, not fun from a creative standpoint, but in terms of my gripes with this particular list, not only from healing effects that Reno can bring, actual OG Reno itself brings, it's hard to like have any damage stick. New Reno and any of the other couple Zephyrus cards can quickly just destroy any board you've built, regardless of how well you've evolved or not. It's just like not a great spot to be in. So we're just gonna go face and try and make our opponent have the thing they need to have. Yeah. Sure. Why not? Just again, try and make big scary board. Sort of go face. There's an argument to be made that we could have just like not attacked with the brass elemental, but we would have had. We have to. Let me rephrase that. Yeah, we're going to sort of kind of have to deal with our opponent's board because they're going to be able to deal with our board. Which is cool. Although, hang on. 3, 4... What? 3, 4, 7. Am I going crazy? Right. And then we can... Yeah, okay, I did the math right. We should be able to then do a cheese. And again, we just hope we evolve into something cool. That can also kind of deal with our opponent's board. That will do it. That qualifies. I think I've learned my lesson. I'm going to not attack. Travel security is like a weirdly good pick. At least in terms of its like death rattle effect, because it's going to get answered. Yeah, bye, you know, Reno. We have enough cards in our hand that we're not immediately dead. But like, it's where it, yeah, you know? With one card, with one card and not that big of an ask, our opponent has just immediately dealt with everything we could hope to deal with. Or everything we could hope to summon on our end. Guess we'll do a first contact, and then we'll do some knuckles. Again, just hope we evolve into something cool. Probably isn't gonna matter. What is that card? To your turn, gain 1 armor. Cool. Okay. Some of the wisp cards you don't see any play at all. At least not in wild. But again, that's fine. Does our opponent have lethal and they just don't know it, or what's going on here? No, they might now deal with that. That's cool. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's one of those, a Reno deck. Yeah, you know what? I'll say this one little bit on Reno. I understand at the time of the original Reno, Jackson, and Zephyrus, their like creation, to restrict yourself to singletons of everything in a list was like a serious downside and really required like some good deck building. But there are so many good cards, just the density of like really, you know, high impactful cards and also more Reno payoffs means that I really don't think to make your deck and honestly, if I, not to, you know, be sensational about it, but I don't think that the majority of decks really need to sacrifice much of anything to also be a Reno deck and just sort of have this catch-all to like most situations. And as a person who likes to build and to brew, I really, really hate when the designers sort of encourage people to be less creative. Granted, I understand it's a eternal format, people play for different reasons, and a lot of people like the fact that they can have like 1 or 2 decks that share a lot of cards, and you know, you can play with those decks for a long time. I acknowledge all of that. I just personally don't find them that interesting. That's why I try to keep Reno decks somewhat limited on the channel, even though I have some of the Reno cards. I just don't personally like them. I do, however, still like Evolve, even though it's like a little weird. Fun, but weird. And hell, you can say the same thing about me. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content, and would like to see more in the future, like a cat bumping into the microphone like a butt. And if you have any sort of stop cat, if you have any sort of questions like I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally, you know, nice and or constructive comments, go ahead and leave them down below and I'll respond to what I can. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.